All right. I don't know. There was some technical weird thing going on there. Anyway, everyone, welcome this morning to Accuracy in America, brought to you by Accuracy in Academia. I'm your host, Don Irvine, joined by my co-host, Brian McNichol.
Hello, deplorables, dregs, despicables, garbage, chumps, Neanderthals, semi-fascists, maggots, weirdos, and of course those dog-faced pony soldiers.
I guess I should reorder that because we like that dog face at the end. I should probably fix that.
I've been mentally leaping over it for a while now.
Yeah, you're doing a good job at that.
I don't have a lot of brain cells left, man. I gotta conserve.
That could just be the test. We just keep it like that to make sure that you do that. You know,
That's right.
Or I could just mix them up every week and then see what you do. All right. Well, anyway, so we do have news as we usually do. We're at 1,001 days for this whole Ukraine-Russia war slog, and this is it. There's no real end in sight in one sense, but there is the Trump administration coming into office in just under, well, it's about 2 months now, right? 2 months from today, roughly.
2 months from today.
Yeah. So that may start to change things. We'll have to wait and see exactly how that all shakes out, at that point in time. But in the meantime, President Biden, authorized the use of these. I don't even know I don't know. Do they call them ATACMS or they just say ATACMS? I don't know. I haven't. Anyway. So these ballistic missiles for the Ukraine forces to go ahead and fire into Russia. Now these go about 190 miles. Apparently, that's their traveling distance. So these are pretty decent size, missiles in terms of their range. I think Russia claimed that they shot down 5 of them, but this is definitely kind of more of an escalation of what's going on there. I don't know what the outcome of. I don't know how many they've got of these. I don't know what the outcome of this is going to really be. Is Biden trying to make some moves before he leaves office, show support for Ukraine because he thinks that Donald Trump will basically end this war one way or the other come, sometime in January, February, whatever, early next year?
I think it's sabotaging Trump. The Democrats are kind of famous for that. They're trying to put a bunch of problems in front of him so that he can't do what he's intending to do. So I think that explains a lot of Biden's. The problem is Putin says, and I don't know if this is true, but he says that the Ukrainians do not know how to operate this weapon system. Right? If these missiles are getting fired, it's at least an American telling a Ukrainian how to do it, if not the American themselves doing it. So if American military personnel are shooting missiles into Russia, then Russia has cause to respond to America, according to what Putin said. That's not me saying; it's Putin saying it.
Right.
All right. So he always, the Russians always they come up with some factual or semi-factual or non-factual like justification for what they want to do. Right. They come up. This is one of the Russian high arts is framing these things in a way that complicates the thing for the adversary. So that's where they are on this. Their attitude is that this is now NATO attacking Russia, right? And so all of NATO is subject to receiving a response from Russia over this. So I don't know. It's like I would like to hear what Emmanuel Macron thinks of this. Starmer, these guys are now in the crosshairs of a pretty serious situation that's basically caused by Biden wanting to make Trump start off in a bad place.
Yeah, I was just wondering too, because like I said, we've been at this for 1,001 days. So and the 3-year mark will come up in about the 3rd week of February, about 2 months from now, too. Also, roughly, I guess, or 3 months. 3 months from now, February. Yeah. So that's fast approaching too, and where do we stand here? I mean, I think both you and I were kind of behind Zelensky. We want, we're more pro-Ukraine on this than pro-Putin. Have you changed your opinion about this much at all, or?
Well, so here's the thing about it. It's like we kind of failed them. We had bad leadership in place and didn't take action in a timely manner, and so you now have a situation. I'm not sure what Trump's plan is, but to get Russia completely out of Ukraine, what would that require? So and this is maybe an opening salve. This may be child's play to what it would really take to get them out of there. The Western media, their number one aim is to make Trump look bad. Is saying, well, hey, the Russians are losing this war now. They're not winning anymore. Well, I mean, they may not be moving forward, but that's only because they don't choose to move forward, because they definitely have the resources and the material to do it if they want to do it, right? So, they're at a stalemate. The lines haven't changed a whole lot in about, going on 2 years now. And so I'm not sure, how you're going to displace Russia from the eastern parts of Ukraine, which like the Donbass region and so forth, where there's a lot of people who are ethnically Russian, and you don't really have a strong please let us be ruled by Kiev emotion there, vibe there. So it's interesting to see, but it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's like, I think you're getting to the point where you're throwing good money after bad, because there's no realistic way forward.
Yeah. I mean, I think we both knew that this was not going to be a short war, a short conflict when it started, because they rarely ever are, things like this. But it has definitely been, I mean, the U.S. has definitely poured a lot of money into this, as well as several other countries, and I understand where we had Republicans in Congress before that were tiring of the expense. I don't know if you've looked at the makeup of the next Congress at all to see whether or not that position is going to change that much. I mean, we did have some seats flip. Some people aren't returning. Some new people are coming in. There'll be some different Democrats, some different Republicans. Just even if you didn't look at it, deep down, do you think the next Congress is going to be any friendlier towards Ukraine than the one that we've just had? It's finishing up.
Well, I mean, I think the Democrats are, they got to evaluate their costs and benefits and so forth on a wide variety of areas on this. And, they have been carrying the torch for Ukraine all this time. Again, just seemingly to thwart Republicans. I'm not sure that their heart is in that. I mean, it's kind of, fighting, sending a lot of money to foreign wars, other than to oppose the Republicans who didn't want to do that. Why would a Democrat ever argue to do that, right? I've always thought that they kind of lack sincerity on this, and their commitment, it'd be severing them from their commitment would not be the challenge people seem to think it is. But so you can see that, and you're going to have I think people are just getting to wrap their minds around, this was an extinction level event, this election for the Democrats, right? Everything that they have stood for and pushed for and done in the last 10 years was obliterated, right? And they can say, oh, well, the popular vote is closing in 1.10%, 1.9% or whatever. Trump won, every place Trump had to campaign, he won, right? He didn't worry about California. So they rolled up a big popular vote edge in California, as the Democrats always do, right? But all the places that he actually fought for votes, he won. And the entire country, including California, including New York, by those two by extremely large, gobsmacking large margins, moved toward Trump. I think California is going to end up being about 15% more Trump than it was in 2020. So and New York 11 to 14 or something like that. So it's those are big numbers. That's a big shift in voting climate, because Trump is right now the most popular he's ever been to Americans, and he will start with somewhat of a honeymoon.
Yeah, I mean, I think the vote total, what was it? I didn't have a look for a few days. It crossed what, 76 million. So,
Yeah.
that's pretty good. Yeah, and Harris is catching up because they're, that slow, vote in California that does come in, that adds to, that adds to her. I mean, if you take California out of the equation, and that you can kind of see where America is, because I do wonder about, California, is that really part of the United States, in terms of their mentality?
Well, but here's the thing about it. So it's kind of a unique situation. So there's the Democrats, it's a talking point to them. You didn't win the popular vote. So, but here's the thing. You have three of the most expensive media markets in the country in California, right? San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego. You have, it's a pretty leftist, polity at this point, right? It just kind of is. And, they have elections, like they had an election for Senate. The last time they elected a senator, it was two Democrats running. All right. So there's a big election on presidential election day that doesn't involve Republicans in any way, right? You can vote for Congress or whatever, but for the most part, it didn't, it wasn't your election, right? It wasn't for you. It was for the other people. You could choose the less bad option or whatever. So yeah, they're running up, Hillary's entire margin of victory in the popular vote was California. That's almost true of Biden, right? Because the support fell a little bit. And now the support fell a lot this time. So, but they're running up the score in places that Trump is not really competing.
Right, and they still haven't answered. They really haven't answered the question. I have so many things to say about this. They really haven't answered the question. It's like, as her vote totals increase, there's still a significant number of people who on paper at least, who technically voted for Biden, that are not there for Harris. Right. I mean, there's missing votes in that sense. It's like there is a come down. Now she's going to, I think her numbers are higher than Hillary's were, but still, they're low. They're significantly lower than where Joe Biden is, which tells you you can read into that several different things, right? Including, the main thing really is that she was a terrible candidate and people didn't vote for her. Democrats stayed home on that particular thing, and Republicans narrowed the gap in a lot of these states because Trump was able to get the vote out and convince people he's the guy, and Democrats thought, no, Harris isn't the person. And if you can't, in a presidential election year, if you cannot get the person at the top of the ticket, people to vote for that, then your down ballot races are going to suffer. I mean, and we saw, the Senate's going to be 53-47. The House is going to be maybe 220 or thereabouts for the Republicans, give or take. So, these are still problematic issues. You talked about, how bad this election was, an extinction level event. I mean, here we are just after 2 weeks, just past 2 weeks past the election. And they're still sniping at each other. The Democrats, the liberals are still sniping at each other about what went wrong and what they have to do. And and I think they're in a genuine panic for 2028. I mean, they're going to face a favorable election map for the midterms with the Senate next up, coming up in the midterms. But 2028 is going to be
more favorable than this one. I don't know about favorable,
more favorable. But I mean, anytime, I'm just saying favorable in the sense that, more Republicans are going to have to defend their seats this next time around than in this particular election. So there's always going to be some safe seats, but then there's always a surprise here and there, right? Sometimes you've got these incumbents that have been treading water, and all it takes is that midterm election to flip that back over. So, I don't know, I'm this makes me wonder. It's like, I guess if I'm running for Senate, I would prefer to be at least to start off with in a presidential election year in all likelihood. I mean, you can't, on a 6-year cycle, you cannot avoid not coming up against a midterm but still, if I'm sure a lot of senators would say, if I could just ride the president's coattails every time for my reelection, I'm probably okay. It's those midterm election years that can be a little dicey in some places. And that shows kind of where people are with all of this. But the other thing too, in with Ukraine and all of this is just that um, you talk about the Democrats trying to foul up Trump and foul up the Republicans. Yeah, I mean, say Trump, officially when he takes office, his position is to bring both sides to the bargaining table and negotiate something that you know doesn't really push Russia back from where they are now. Cede some of the territory, just kind of like this spring 2022 memo that was leaked. So apparently apparently Putin was willing to go to peace if he could and Ukraine didn't apply for NATO and stuff like that.
What he needs to be able to do is go across the bottom of Ukraine and get to Crimea to have access to a deep water year-round port.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just thinking that if Trump does something like that, will the Democrats in Congress, be more united about saying, okay, this is for us, opposition is we need to support Zelensky 100%, because then there'll be a clear contrast to that. Or are they risking something? Will they wind up risking something if Trump is trying to bring peace to the region, despite the fact that there'll be some major sacrifices potentially on Ukraine's part? This is going to be kind of interesting to see how this particular one goes. I think, and a part of it I think is going to depend upon, do you get Marco Rubio as your Secretary of State? What other people are you putting into diplomatic positions to go and help negotiate and work on these things? He's still staffing up, and he keeps putting out all these picks at these levels. And I decided today, I've titled this episode, and I'm going to try to title them in the future, Trump keeps lobbying bombs to liberals with cabinet nominations, because some of them, the liberals, they're not going to be able to do anything about. I mean, they're going to easily get confirmed. And I think even some of the Democrats may go ahead and say, what the heck? I mean, but others,
Rubio probably will get north of 80 votes.
Yeah, I think, Rubio. A lot of times, particularly when they're a member of the Senate, they will cross the lines. The senators will support them unless there's some major issue. They're going to get the bulk of the votes. But we're going to talk in a little while about some of these others. And so there's so many dynamics, and Trump is throwing out all these people out there. And I think he's got the liberals, the liberal media, their heads are spinning trying to figure this out, because also there's no press conference, right? Really, these announcements kind of come through social media and a lot of other things. They just boom, there it is.
Yeah, that's right. So an important thing there is like, the traditional ways that news comes out are changing. Like Trump, he has this stationery. I wonder if it exists physically or just digitally, right? He has this digital stationery of Trump events, and he puts out a statement from President Trump, and then he endorses or names or points or whatever he does, all these people, and then it tells who they are, and that's it. That's the announcement. And it goes on to social media, and the networks can pick it up from there, right? So these stories are not originating with them anymore. And in fact, the ones where they guess at them, or like they think their inside sources have told them whatever, have been wrong. Yeah, I think Rubio is one of the smoother sailors in this whole thing. Linda McMahon probably won't have a hard time. She's been confirmed before. They don't like her, but she's not offensive to them. So, but there's a few more that won't be too hard. And there's really not that many that will be hard, but some of them might be really hard.
I'm thinking about Linda McMahon. Things like, hey, she needs to hire Riley Gaines.
Yeah. That's another thing. It's come up as an issue. Like Nancy Mace has, said that she wants the speaker to make a rule, put it in the House rules package that'll be introduced at the beginning of the next Congress. Right after New Year's. Congress comes back like the 3rd of January.
Right.
So they don't wait till the 20th. So she's, she wants it in the rules package that, your biological sex, that's the bathroom you have to go to, on the Capitol. So we'll see what happens there. The speaker says he's behind it, but I think they're looking for a way to, make a bathroom the person from Delaware can go to, right? There was a person elected to the House. Delaware gets one House person, and it's a man who changed to a woman. So that's what this is all about.
Yeah. Does Nancy Pelosi actually want to share a bathroom with this person?
Yeah, right. That's right. It's like, but I mean, if she's going to say that, because, that's what they all say. So they're all like, you're welcome here. And it's like, you're welcome here. You won an election, but, people are going to raise this concern, and it's not going away. And they keep telling us, that we're stupid, right? You guys are stupid. We did the smart thing. We're all more educated than you are, and it's like, you voted for 75 IQ, lazy, drunken DEI hire, right? He said she was a DEI hire, right? I can send you the tape. That was my best DEI hire, right? So, don't call us stupid. You're definitely not going to win us back calling us stupid, right?
I have this vision in my mind where, like the Democrats in Congress, the women will try to set up some kind of systems like, okay, she's going to bathroom XYZ now, stay away.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so this representative will be in there all alone, set up a warning system for the other females to stay away from that bathroom, and things like that. I mean, the whole thing is just uncomfortable, but it does in a way, it does force the Democrats to even face, a lot of their own hypocrisy on this. So we'll see how that goes out. Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see, once these the cabinet secretaries are confirmed and which ones are confirmed and whatever, in terms of who they hire, as their deputies or whatever, other people that are underling other staff and things like that. That's why I just threw out Riley Gaines on top of my head, because like she would just royal everything. I mean, the liberals will just lose their minds over this. That type of thing. But yeah, I think we'll have to. That'll just kind of be one of those things. We'll have to see how that goes. Yeah,
that's right.
That's not a bad. Yeah, that's like I quit.
My job. My guess is that they will make a restroom for her.
Yeah, they'll find something. They'll figure this out.
Her, however you want to talk about it, but the person will have the restroom to themselves.
All right. Before we go on to our handicapping of or discussion of some of the cabinet selections, just talk about, we have our little weather thing here. So we've got these two contrasting things still. We have the drought still continuing in the Northeast, wildfires still raging, throughout New York, New Jersey, I guess getting down even to maybe the parts of Pennsylvania. And now we had this bomb cyclone that hit Washington State, Oregon, and into the Bay Area in California. So they've got these torrential rains on one side of the country, and the other side of the country is dry as a bone. I mean, we've had very little rain. I think we're going to get some coming up here. To look at the weather forecast, which will be good.
That's the next few days are pretty rainy.
Yeah, so that'll be good. But
raining here out Western Virginia, heavy snow. So
snow.
They're looking at a foot of snow in parts of Virginia.
Yeah, the snow always worries me, because my wife has booked she's booked us to go to Utah in December, which I didn't want to do, but we are expecting our first grandchild will have been born by then, in all likelihood.
Oh.
So our first grandson from Steven's side, right? Okay, so
right.
that'll be number 7, with number 8 coming in January in Indiana. So so you want to go see this child, but I have this thing like, man, Utah in December, this is like, and then Evansville, Indiana in January, no piece of cake. It's a lot like here, so the weather can be kind of dicey. And she's already planned on driving, which I found out only last week. I'm like, oh, so you want us to drive through the mountains of of Cumberland, Maryland, and West Virginia in January to get to Indiana? I'm like, this is not going to.
Got some diciness potential
Yeah,
there.
I'm not so sure, but so I kind of look at how the weather's been out west, and they've already had snow. They've had snow in Utah. They've had snow in a lot of places, and I'm like, this does not bode well for December, in this trip, and overall, I mean, we're flying in, but still, we would be out there for maybe a week. I'm like, I wish there was a better way, but there isn't. But we have these weather patterns that are going on. I mean, snow is good for a lot of these states because get a good snowpack, later on that melts, that provides water that they need, in the spring and the summer. So right. That's good. I'm just too old to deal with it, and everything. And if it snows back here while I'm gone, there's nothing I can do about it. Homeowner Association may have a fit while I'm gone if that happens. So I'm just crossing my fingers that when we get to December and January, wherever I'm going to be, there's going to be very little snow because I just don't want to deal with it. I'm a grumpy old man. Get off my lawn. Do not snow, and everything like that. But yeah, I'll welcome the rain that we get here the next few days, just because we need it. The ground is just still dry, way too dry. And everything like that. But it just shows you the divergence of the weather pattern. I mean, the bomb cyclone, I mean, it's deadly. I mean, there's a lot of rain causing a lot of flooding, which has led to several deaths already, and things. And too much rain at one time is not a good thing. You want your rain kind of spread out so you can do that. That's more manageable, but we've seen these events, more and more often. All right, so moving on to the main event, which is looking at some of these cabinet nominations. The ones particularly that might have some issues. So Matt Gaetz, obviously top of the list, Attorney General. So Poly Market, 31% this morning. Probably not that far off, I guess. There's a lot of stuff on Gaetz. I have not been a Gaetz fan, so I would rather see somebody else in that role, personally. But if he gets confirmed, he gets confirmed. That's fine. I don't know. I just wonder whether or not he can get through, the committee vote, and then much less the entire Senate vote as well, the entire Senate. Your thoughts?
So Gaetz, a few things. One is. Why was he chosen? First of all, like you said, there's a lot of people out there in conservative world that could have been a good agent. You say a lot. There's not really a lot. That's part of the problem. The reason he was chosen is everyone in Congress, no one understands and prosecutes the war against Justice Department corruption like Matt Gaetz. Nobody. He is the best one at it. He is the best one at interrogating their leaders in hearings. He's the best one at getting to the facts of what they actually done and what they've actually refused to do. And he is into this issue. He understands like where the bodies are buried and what needs to be thrown out. Right. So I think that is why he was chosen. Also, you're mucking stables, right? You don't wear all white for that, right? You wear your old clothes when you're mucking stables, and I would submit that he's sort of old clothes. Also, it doesn't appear that like what they're trying to hang on and whatever's in this ethics report. If it was me, I would say release the ethics report, right? Because the people they interviewed in the ethics report, the government interviewed them too. The DOJ interviewed them in order to prosecute. To try to determine whether to file charges against Gaetz on this. And I found all these people were too unreliable to press a case, right? And so now you have these women, there's 2 women involved in this who are porn stars, and there's a guy in prison somewhere telling them what to say and when to say it and sending them money. So That's the heart of the case against Gates. Now, did he do this? Did he go to these parties? I don't know. I don't think anybody does. It happened a long time ago. If we're gonna go to with only our purest driven snow people, a lot of people will be out of politics, right? Everyone's done nothing wrong. We will not have any people in Congress. So, I don't know what he did. I don't think, I think if you compare him, when it comes to integrity and trust and viability and caring about the Constitution and so forth, I think he's a ginormous upgrade over the current occupant of that office. I don't think anybody can argue that. This guy has been complete scum and lied and prevaricated and blocked information and unfairly prosecuted people and politicized his office in a way that no AG in American history has ever done. So there's not, what I say to people that they want to criticize Gates or any other Trump employee is that, tremendous improvement over the current occupant.
Yeah, I mean, I think, let's release a report. Let's see what's in there. Because
it's baked in, right? Either you're for him or you're against him. Nothing in that report's going to change your mind.
Right. And the thing too is that the media and the liberals, right now they're using that as kind of a cudgel. They're like, oh, this report has got all this
hiding something.
Right. They're hiding something, right? So, if there's really nothing in the report, you release the report, and they say there's really nothing there, and then you move on that, and then this opposition that has been, that they've been trying to build up, the Democrats have been trying to build up on this, goes away, because then there's really, what do you have on Gates? You really have got nothing. Yeah. So neither you or I or the majority of the public knows exactly what happened here. We don't know how much of this is truth. There's a lot of conjectures. You can make, because in this world, you can make accusations. You don't have to back them up right away. You can accuse somebody of just about anything, and then the onus really becomes on them to find a way to defend themselves and prove you wrong. And that's a burden sometimes that can be pretty heavy. So and then you're always just fighting against that all the time. Gates, one of the pluses for him, beyond what you're saying, is that he, like a lot of these other people that Trump has selected for the cabinet, is a fierce Trump loyalist. And I think that's part of the look that we're seeing with Trump this time around, is that I've got one term, and I got burned.
You're not going to get in the burrow in and undermine me. You're not
right.
going to.
I got burned the last time around by some people. I am not going to let that happen again. I'm not going to let other people get in my head and tell me I got to have this person in this job. I am now going to take the people that I want to take, and then say, okay, this is it. So, Gates is his guy right now. Will he stand behind him all the way through? I don't know.
Just turn yeah, that's right. That's right. I think he makes the last point that I think is really relevant, is like, there's a reason the Democrats are so angry about this, and it's not just because they think he's compromised, right? It's because they know that he's over the target.
Yeah, and the thing too is that we've seen this, and I do think there's some truth to it. It's just that Gates is drawing all the fire, right? He's basically drawing all the fire. So, and Gates seems to be willing to draw the fire. I mean, look, he as soon as Trump said this is who I want as Attorney General, he resigned from Congress, which ended the investigation. So now he's no longer going to be a member of Congress. So the investigation.
Well, see, that's kind of interesting too. So he resigned from the current Congress. He's been elected to the next Congress. So this doesn't work out. He goes back into Congress.
Well, that leads to the question though, is that, okay, so he resigns from this Congress. He was reelected. Does that mean, I didn't look into this, so maybe does that mean, on January 3rd or 4th or whenever they do this, will he get sworn into the new Congress before the hearings?
I mean, I don't know where, depends on where he stands with his AG thing. If he's knocked out, if Trump's had to name someone else, then yeah, he would be sworn out.
Yeah. So it's kind of, there is kind of that little interesting, thing going on there. at this point in time in terms of exactly how this goes. And I don't know what this current Congress runs until the next Congress takes over. Is there even enough time under the law in Florida that does Governor DeSantis even have to call for a special election to fill that seat in the meantime? There's just not a lot. That 2 months is not a lot of time, and usually
there'll be no special election for this.
Yeah,
so not even much vote.
Yeah,
it's really 5 weeks because Congress ends at the end of the year.
Right. Yeah, they're going to go on there. They're going to leave. They're going to leave town and everything early. So it's going to be. Yeah, it's pretty much all said and done, I think. So it'll be interesting. We see some very interesting things come up as a result of who Trump has nominated and how it affects the balance of power and exactly who gets what and all of that. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't know if I'm as pessimistic as Poly Market is at this point, but because Americans are restricted from betting into that, using that market. It's only foreigners. You can't be a U.S. citizen and bet on the Poly Market. That's part of the agreement they had to operate. That one guy made a ton of money though on betting on Trump though.
Yeah.
So he found the right way of doing that. But they also, when you look at it, they had when you look at RFK and Tulsi, they're up in the high 70s, low 80s. Pete Hegseth too, and none of those are necessarily slam dunks. Either. I mean, RFK probably is the next one who has got some vulnerability. I mean, he's not all the Democrats like him either. He does have some kind of way out opinions about things that he said in the past, and on just a variety of issues, health issues. I thought Trump would put him in some kind of advisory capacity. I didn't think Trump would really pull the trigger and put him in, as HHS.
I thought that's what they had both kind of indicated, was that he wouldn't be part of the cabinet or really part of the government. He would just be, like Musk and Ramaswamy, just go around and make study of it and give recommendations. I think it's kind of interesting that I guess that they thought that the bureaucratic pushback would overcome his efforts from the outside, so he had to have the institutional power in his case.
And so I mean, one of the immediate reactions once that announcement came out was just that big pharma companies, their stock prices drop precipitously because they see
they got some splaining to do.
Yeah, he would be a big threat to them if he actually is able to exercise his power there. So that will be a very interesting confirmation process to see how that one goes. Gabbard and Hegseth.
Yeah, but that one's that's one of those ones, a controversial pick. And a lot of people will disagree with his views on vaccines and whatnot. But it's a credible guy. He's a known public figure for decades, right? His family's known even longer than that. I don't see him. I see him roughing him up a little bit in the hearing, but I don't see any more than the people who never vote for a Republican voting against him. I think he gets 70 or 80.
I think one of the interesting things about it is just the fact that he's a Kennedy, right?
Yeah.
So he's a Kennedy. I mean, how many Democrats are going to be on the record of voting against a Kennedy?
That's
now,
right.
the Kennedy family doesn't really like him. Apparently, a lot of them don't like him, but because of the positions he's taken. But he does. There are a lot of people who think that on vaccines, he was right. I mean, he has some credibility there on vaccines.
I mean, it at least needs to be. If the numbers he gives when he talks about this, the increase in autism and childhood obesity and childhood, psychological disorders and all this stuff are climbing at the rate that he's claiming they're climbing, then we need to figure out what we're doing that causes that. It may be the vaccines, it may not be, but we need to look into that, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, they get to the when they get to the hearing, when they have their hearings for confirmation. I mean, these things that are controversial about him, he needs to come there with the evidence, some backup, some scientific, so he can say when he gets asked, he can say, this is the study or whatever, that is kind of irrefutable, that is, of high quality, type of thing like that, cannot be torn apart. So I think that'll just be a really interesting hearing to see how he does there in this kind of setting. I
love the one that he named Dr. Oz to be CMS.
Yeah, Center for
right?
Medicaid.
He's totally unqualified. I'm like, this guy, I mean, he's a walking, talking commentator on public health, authority on, I mean, this is what his job is, talking about public health policy, right? And he's been doing it for a year from the perspective of an MD, right? Like, what does all this stuff mean to us? What is, when your doctor sees all these things, what is your doctor thinking, right? But he's there. Oh, he's not qualified. He was a TV doctor. That's like the people in there now. That's who's not qualified, right? They were political friends. They were people who were not ready to handle that data and respond to it and have the courage to say the right stuff about it, right? They just went along to get along. And so you're going to call this guy unqualified?
Yeah,
they got a lot of nerve over there with the clowns that they put in office to call our people unqualified.
Yeah, they're also against him too, because he likes holistic medicine, and that goes against the establishment of
a host of other things, right? And he says that diet is a problem, which none of them want to say, right? Because that takes on a bunch of their other friends, and that pharma is a problem. They're not necessarily contributing to the solutions here. So we need to get to the bottom of it, and this is one thing. It really needs to be data based, and the leftists had drawn and circled the wagons on this, and you were not able to question it, right? Any questioning of it was, you're a quack or something, something miserable. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I don't know what his opinion is on, Medicare, like reimbursement rate type of thing like that. But there's no doubt that over the years, Medicare has been tightening the screws on what they will pay the doctors for certain services, and that either pushes doctors to quit the practice altogether, or stop accepting patients and whatnot. One
friend in Shreveport, he was a heart surgeon, and he got out of heart surgery. He does plastic surgery now and so forth, because it's all elective, and he never has to deal with the government. He's changed his entire focus of his practice so that he never had to deal with government again.
Yeah, we talk about government regulation, and we're very hopeful, I think, that we will see a lot less on government regulation over the next 4 years under the Trump administration. But there is just such a myriad of regulations in just about every aspect of our lives that is being handed down by the government. And so, I've been on Medicare since September, and through my medical care, so I've got Medicare, I've got a drug prescription plan, I've got a Medigap plan. The idea is that it basically covers my care, and I take that versus the healthcare plan I had under Care First prior to this, which was a pretty comprehensive plan with I wind up right now, I don't know if I'll see how this goes throughout the year, but first bill started coming through, where I didn't owe money for my visits before, I now owe money for my visits now. At some point in time, I guess I hit a deductible wall and whatever, and then that stops. But it takes a long time for all of this to actually come out. It's like they got to file it. I think health insurance companies themselves, when the doctors file a claim with them, based on what I've seen, they were actually paying those claims fairly quickly. It looks like with Medicare, it's like, okay, did you code it right? Did you do this? It takes a while to go through that. So they got it, and now they're forced to okay, because of the way the rules are, they go through Medicare, see what Medicare covers, and then they submit the bill also to the other insurance company for Medigap and see what they cover, and then what they don't cover, I pay, right? So there is extra layers of bureaucracy involved in all this, and that's not free. That costs money. There's personnel that are employed to deal with the claims process. It's just, I have no idea when I walk into a doctor's office when, what my final bill is, because I probably won't find out till about a month and a half later. I mean, I just really don't know. And for the care I'm receiving, it used to be that if there was some big thing coming up, they used to be able to take under Care First. They would say they could go through there and they could figure out how much the procedure cost. And they say, it's all covered, or you owe this much and we need to get a payment now. With this process, they just got to wait for the payments to come in and then tell me later on when I make a visit saying, by the way, or send me something in the mail saying, by the way, this is what you owe now after insurance. It's just, this is the life that that goes on there. But it's just kind of crazy. Like you said, your friend, they need to change, they'll leave the practice, they'll switch to something else because they're just tired of it.
Yeah.
They can't deal with it anymore. And, it's ridiculous. I mean, I feel for them. I don't know if Oz is going to get into these reimbursement rates and how much they're squeezing the doctors and chasing them out of the practice. If you're living in a rural area, we already have a crisis in America where there are very few rural doctors. The last thing you need to do is give them less incentive to actually set up shop somewhere. In my opinion, in general. So I don't know. I'm trusting that Trump they've been working on this and they kind of got to figure out we need these people in.
Yeah. That's one thing. It's like during the debate, they talked about, they asked him about this and he's like, well, I have elements of a plan. 8 years, always called it elements. Well, it's like, the opponent has a plan that is utterly unworkable, right? And the plan in place now is unworkable and is driving us into penury, right? So when you say someone has elements of a plan, that really is more than what the other team has, right? And I think part of that plan is how to address it where the doctors don't run out of the profession, where you have doctors in rural areas, and where the claims process makes sense.
Yeah. All right. So I still have a couple of nominees. I just want to get your opinion about a little bit more now that we've had a little more time. Pete Hegseth. There's more things are floating about on him. Once again, there's the attack dogs are out there ready to go. I know nothing about any of these accusations, whether any of this is remotely even true, and how much this affects nomination or would affect the nomination. Thoughts?
I guess he's had the adventurous romantic life. The last one is like there's he has a white supremacist tattoo, and they're like, no, that's a religious thing, And I mean, they're reaching for stuff, right? And again, he's just a TV guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's like this is a guy that has served 2 tours in the Middle East, in the last 10 years. So like he knows, like when we field forces now, what he knows a heck of a lot more what that looks like than Lloyd Austin does, right? Because he's the forces that got fielded. Lloyd Austin hasn't been near anything like that in decades, right? So, and he's written books about flag officers and senior leadership of the military. He's made a study of this. So, like Trump is glomming onto people who know something of what they're talking about and are willing to break some eggs because, what he got elected to do is to make change, right? If people wanted us to keep going, I mean, the other candidate promised to keep going with what we had, right? And she lost badly. And, nothing about the late votes and all that changes that. She lost every battleground state. She lost both houses of Congress badly. And she was not really a competitive candidate, okay? Because she didn't want change and he did, right? And so he has a mandate, you can go through, item by item of what he wants to do and so forth. What are the American people strongly for, less strongly for, and whatnot. But he has a mandate to shake things up. And Hegseth is a choice for a person who has a mandate to shake things up because that's what's going to happen. A lot of people have to be fired, have to be replaced. right? Because they're letting, woke sensitivities get in the way of doing their job.
Yeah, so I just read this part from the Wall Street Journal editorial about this. Practically everything about the 2017 incident on Hegseth seems in dispute, other than that Mr. Hegseth was in Monterey, California for a speaking engagement. Someone claiming to be a friend of the accuser sent a memo to Mr. Trump's team, which alleges that the woman was at a bar with Mr. Hegseth after a speech, accompanying him to his hotel room the next day, had a moment of hazy memory being raped the night before, and had a panic attack. His lawyer, on the other hand, told the press that Mr. Hegseth was visibly intoxicated and the woman was not. She led him by the arm to his hotel room and was the aggressor in initiating a sexual activity. City of Monterey issued a statement confirming that police investigated, but no charges were brought. The memo says a woman and her husband hired a lawyer to ensure Mr. Hegseth did not get off without punishment. The attorney for Hegseth counters his client was strongly felt that he was the victim of blackmail and innocent collateral damage, and a lie that the complainant was holding on to her to keep her marriage intact. He settled the claim in 2020, according to his account, knowing that was the height of the Me Too movement, and any public accusation would result in his immediate termination from Fox. So that's kind of the thing there, is that there's just the city of Monterey investigated. They couldn't find anything. This is a hazy memory on the part of this woman. I don't think this is going to go very far.
Right. It's all hazy or not quite true or can't be proven. Right. All the stuff against Trump, all the stuff against his people. It's like, and then you watch it. Well, he's been accused of this. Okay. Well, he's accused by someone that cannot be believed. Right. Yeah. He was accused. But that's not, we don't rub people out because they got some rando politically driven accusation made against them.
Yeah,
that's why we have the due process.
Right. That's the thing. The thing is that all I hear is that he's been accused of this, right? But the journal is good on this because the journal fleshed this out, and they said, look, here's the story. They were together. She apparently was the aggressor. City of Monterey investigated, said nothing, and they settled it in 2020. They settled this whole thing in 2020 anyway. I mean, Hegseth was, sometimes you feel like, yeah, you've been blackmailed. You better do this, otherwise he's going to lose his job. But it just looks like, if she has a hazy memory, it's like, I don't, except for this time with the journal, I'm not hearing that anywhere else. I'm not hearing that from the liberal media. I'm just hearing he's been accused because they're still trying to take him out.
Right. And it's just attach something to him. It's like they've tried to attach all this stuff to Trump. E. Jean Carroll and, Clifford, what's her name? Stormy Daniels. You can't prove anything, right? But you're just going to attach this to them. So, as every step they take walking through life, this thing is attached. What does she call the backup smear or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically saying, like, the men in Trump's circle, a lot of them are sexist, racist, and misogynist, right? So this is just another one of those people, that mistreats women and everything like this. Now, Tulsi Gabbard, that's going to be interesting. I mean, I don't know that she would face a whole lot of opposition, but the Wall Street Journal had they put out an editorial about some of her positions, before on things, and it does, I kind of wonder if any of those things that she had said or done previous on foreign relations, issues will come back, during these hearings and be enough to stop her confirmation. I don't think that necessarily she would withdraw. I think the worst case scenario is that she might not get out of committee, or she would lose the Senate vote. I don't know.
That's one appointment that I was a little puzzled about. I'm not, like, I can tell you why he picked Hegseth. I can tell you why he picked Matt Gaetz. I don't really know why he picked Tulsi Gabbard for that post, right? I figured she would have some role in his administration. And, if you look at her portfolio, she's been involved in intelligence type stuff for a pretty good while. But yeah, they used the old Russia. She didn't, call for Putin to be bombed into smithereens, so she's pro-Russia, and it's another smear. It's just that she said something that was not what they would have said, so it's pro-Russia. And I think, I will say this. I think America is inured to the Russia stuff. The Democrats are trying it now. Putin talked on the phone to Musk, and Putin and Trump are having talks before Trump was in a Logan Act, this and that and the other. It's always something with Russia because they think that they can fool people into think that Trump is somehow Putin's stooge. And it's like, I don't understand why we don't just, point out that, Putin took Georgia under W, he took Crimea under zero, he took Ukraine under Biden, but he didn't dare make a move against Trump. Right? Why is Trump the bitch if Putin won't ever make a move against him? Do you see what I mean? It's like it's backwards.
Yeah. Okay. You said the word.
Yeah, I said that. I meant to say another word too. So, but
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, I apologize. I really don't want to. Yeah, I try to set examples.
But the truth is the truth, right? I mean, that's the thing. Yeah. I mean, and so it's fine. I mean, it's we didn't put up any barriers on this, and we
God help them if they censor it.
Megyn Kelly drops so many F-bombs on her show most of the time. It's like, okay, I can't listen to her show sometimes because
did someone tell her that? It's like the tattoos. Did someone tell her that was attractive? It's not. It's like every once in a while, if you get so rung up over something that you say something like that, then we're like, wow, she must have really been mad because she said that word. But now it's like 20 times a show. It's like you're just a cuss. You're just cussing.
Yeah, you can imagine how hard it is for Mormons who want to cuss, but like they have to find the other word. They have to go like frick, friggin, and things like that. Yeah. But still, they don't. They know. They
don't give into it. Like we have this thing called cussing Catholics.
Yeah. Except my wife will sometimes just lose it.
Let one go. Aw.
I'm like, okay, all right. It's like I try to stay under control, dear. Anyway, all right. So just really, really quickly, though, and just the last thing on the nominations is that the other part of it is that, there's been a lot of talk about recess nominations, appointments and stuff like that. I mean, it's not really even realistic. I mean, under the Constitution,
So yesterday they were saying that they had offered Trump that they would recess appointment. They would confirm Getz. In fact, they would fully confirm him for a full term. If Trump would make Mike Rogers the head of CIA instead of Kash Patel.
Yeah.
So the Senate's willing to deal. They're willing to deal on Getz. So I that tells me to look out that there's some backroom stuff going on, and this will all get worked out. I mean, I think Trump's hand is pretty strong right now, right? Many of them are in office because of him.
Right. I mean, that is part of it, is that there is a more so than any other time, there is a very strong feeling I'm getting, a vibe that this Congress wants to be loyal to Trump.
Yeah.
And so that they will, unlike the previous versions, they are not going to cross him if they can help it.
That's right. Because the people who crossed him, they're not here anymore because they couldn't raise any money. They lost their election.
Yeah. So that's that. All right. Well, we're near the end. Let's go ahead and wrap up, Brian.
Let's see what we have on here. The Pennsylvania. So I guess Shapiro told them to cut it out. They're just counting votes that they're told not to count. And I guess some lower court ordered Philadelphia County to count 850 votes or something. But I think that's going to end up with Casey losing, which is, I think should happen. The Trump dance, I think, is great. It's something they kind of can't hide it. And, they get all mad, but it's like, there's 40 of them doing it a day. You can't really, do it. And I think it would be,
even the NFL, the No Fun League, has said, okay.
Let it go. I mean, you can't fight it anymore. It's it's a weird thing, but like we've become the majority, right? We were in the dark. We were the lowlifes who no one had to listen to. And then, wing, the sun came up and there was a new day, and it's now you're listening to us now. So, I think that's one of the things. Fox News up, all the other networks. I think you're going to see a real remake of. I mean, it's not hurting Fox that bad now, but it will soon. Just still a real remake of how traditional media is done. Yep.
There's a report, I think, that 20% of people get their news from social media, things like TikTok and whatnot.
Yeah.
This is where it's happening in a lot of cases for a lot of people. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Please, as always, stay safe and stay well. Remember, we live in the greatest country in the world. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. And as always, God bless America. And we will see you next week before we celebrate Thanksgiving, I guess, right? All right. See you then.